Hello, welcome to the Lost Library. A new adventure from the Shadowrun Dragonfall Director's Cut. We just finished interviewing everybody after finding the truth behind Green Winters. We just finished talking to Paul Amzell. He suggests that we take these discs that we found in Green Winter's room back up to the top, and apparently there is some store there that should be able to read these discs. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get right to it. We're going to try and find out what's on these discs. Hopefully it'll give us a clue as to where we go next. Okay, where's this shop? Oh, Malit Hollier, right here. There he is. Let's go talk to him. Let's see what he has to say. Or she. Welcome back. What can I do for you? You know, I'm looking for something that can play back a DVD. Really? Ah, that is old tech. Ah, very old. In fact, just a moment. I will go look. She turns to rummage through a bin of obsolete components at the back of her stall. Ah, yes. Here we are. The dwarf wrestles a mid-sized flat-screen display out of the bin. This display has old enough hookups to connect to a DVD player. RCA. You know, vintage. The player itself, though, this I do not have. You may wish to try your luck down at the junkyard. There is a scavenger there. A primitive man, though, with a crude disposition. If anyone here in the Cruise Bazaar can help you find your DVD player, he can. But he will almost certainly attempt to overcharge you for it. She takes a deep breath and smiles up at you. But you are not here for gossip. Shall we conclude our business? I could give you the display for, say, 200 new yen. Paul Amzell said to charge it to his account. Ah, very well. I will have it packaged up and delivered to Herr Amzell straight away. Best of luck finding your DVD reader. I wish you well. Okay, so look for a DVD player at the junkyard. Where's the junkyard? Did we see a junkyard here? Where is the junkyard? I don't think it's over here. Is it? No. Oh, who's that? Look at this guy. Wow. No junkyard here. That's the magic shop. What do we have for new yen? We didn't make much new yen there. We only have 244 new yen. It's not enough to buy any magic. Or is it, though? Maybe it is. Is it enough? I can't remember how much those spells are. Because we could certainly use some more spells. Well, let's just stay on the task at hand here and try and find this junkyard. Where's this junkyard? Ah, maybe it's back here. This looks promising. We haven't talked to this guy before. Who's this guy? Shrati. A stout old man looks up from whatever old tech he's tinkering with to squint at you through thick, old, flat-fashioned glasses. He pushes them up with an oil-stained finger as he straightens up to nod at you. He speaks with a gruff, but well-meaning tone, heavily accented with German tonality. Guten Tag. What can I do for you? Yeah, Malit tells me you're the man to speak to about DVDs. That little shrew sent you my way, huh? Shrati's smile broadens. Will wonders never cease? Well, introductions are in order, I suppose. Shrati Buckman, at your service. The old man raises a grimy hand in salute. Need something salvaged? Some old components? Relict? I'm indeed your man. Wonderful. How about that DVD player? Well, let's see. I think I've got something that'll work for you. Shrati rummages through the junk heaped on the table behind him. A few seconds later, he snatches a battered plastic lozenge shaped from the pile. Ah! Here we go. An old Korean player that I dug up last week. 2010 model. A real beauty. Shrati's smile broadens, and he gives you a conspiratorial wink. I fixed her up and got her running, but without any discs to read. I have mostly been using her as a paperweight. Sounds like what I'm looking for. How much do you want for it? Shrati glances back at the DVD player, a rueful expression on his face. Well, I'll admit, I'm a little loath to part with her. There are plenty of folks out there who'd really appreciate an older player such as this. And I don't know what your intentions are for it. I suppose, given the time and trouble I took putting her back together, that I'd be willing to part with her for, say... Shrati's eyes dart over your gear, a calculated expression on his face. About 500 million? Hey, come on, that's ridiculous. I could buy a new Trivid player for that. Yeah, but you can get one of those anywhere. You ain't gonna find another of these anytime soon. But it's not like I get offers to buy these every day. So I'll cut you a deal. How's 350 sound? Still too rich for my blood. Would you take a trade? The old man pauses for a moment, considering. Tell you what. A few months ago, I had call it a difference of opinion with that Burakazi fellow from the Soykov shop. He hasn't let me into his establishment since, and I'd sell the family farm for a decent cup of coffee. You get me a cup of Turkish coffee, the real stuff, not that fake junk, and I'll give you the DVD player. Sound like a deal? Deal. Okay, I think we can go and buy a coffee from our Turkish coffee shop owner, can we not? Where is he? Isn't he over here? I think so. Okay, he wanted 350 million. I don't think the coffee's going to be 350 million. Hey, there's Dante. Good boy, Dante. Let's go see this guy here. I don't think there's anyone to talk to in here, is there? Nope. There is Altug. The Turk leans into you, keeps his voice low. I have information regarding that matter my people were looking into, Effendim. The one involving the surveillance device on my data tap. Altug, I've been waiting for my coffee for nearly an hour already. Are you growing the beans out back? The coffee vendor shouts. Can't you see that I am speaking to an honored guest, you tower of quivering corpulence? His voice lowers again. Now then, as I was saying, we were fortunate that you happened upon that surveillance tap when you did. The people on the other end were planning a very bad thing, to be sure. A very bad thing? Quite bad, yes. Monica Schaffer was an important member of this community, more than most were aware of. This Kies was under her protection. You know how it is in the flux, Effendim. The The governance of a place like this is tenuous at best. You never know who is going to be in charge from one day to the next. But Monica was a stabilizing force, and not just because she was dangerous. She was smart, and funny, and wise, and she had a way with people. They wanted to support her, to follow her, because they loved her. When she was killed, it left an opening for others. It wouldn't have meant bloodshed and pain, or it could have meant bloodshed and pain, if this council had been allowed to continue their plan. But they did not. We saw to it, you and I. What happened to them? They have been reasoned with. Let us simply say, the matter is settled and leave it at that. The Cruz Bazaar will maintain its stability a while longer, thanks to us. Now, what can I do for you, Effendim? Would you like some coffee, perhaps? Yeah, coffee, but as in real coffee, not soy calf. Yes, for individuals of refined taste, I offer genuine bean coffee from my native Turkey. The cafe owner looks you in the eye. The tone of his voice grows low and serious. This is a top-shelf item, my friend, and not for the general public. Only for those few discerning connoisseurs who can properly appreciate it. I think I'm the sort who can appreciate it. Tell me about the Turkish coffee. It is hand-picked by my family in Turkey, a true delicacy of the sixth world. This was considered a luxury even before the awakening, when bean coffee was everywhere. Every street corner, they say. Burakazi leans in close, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. Long hours in the shop have perfumed his body with the commingled scents of coffee, incense, and applewood tobacco. Trust me, if your coffee experience has been limited to soy calf, you must not deny yourself this opportunity. You will see God. All right, you sold me. How much? This is a specialty item, delivered at some cost. I cannot part with it for less than 50 new yen a cup. It's a deal. Very good. Burakazi hands you a ceramic travel cup, which he then fills to the brim with dark, steaming liquid. The scent is intoxicating. Is there anything else more that I can get you? Just killing time. I'll be going now. Okay, good. We got that coffee. And let's go grab that DVD player. Shrotty looks up at you from his work and nods. Hello again. Mind her. I'm a bit busy, but what can I do for ya? I'm back for my DVD player. Well, it ain't yours yet, but I've been keeping it warm for ya. Now, did you get me some coffee, or do you have the 350 new yen? I got that coffee for you. Oh, thank you. Shrotty gratefully accepts the coffee, then snaps the lid back and inhales deeply, wiggling his mustache as he processes the scent. Yep, that's the real stuff, all right. Shrotty gingerly picks up the ancient device from the table and presses it into your hands. The plastic is scuffed and worn, and it rattles a bit when you move it. Give her some good use, okay? Alright, let's return to Paul now with this DVD player. Where is Paul again? I think he's over this way. There he is. Okay, this is going to be interesting. What's going to happen here? What are we going to see on these discs that are about, what, 20 years old? What are we going to find on these discs? Let's go and see. Let's go and see. Okay, there's Iger. There's Paul right there. Okay, so everybody's around Paul right now. Iger's in no mood to talk, and neither is Glory, nor is Daytrick, nor Blitz, but everybody's around. Okay. It seems that Amzel has assembled the team in your absence. They stand in a group around the old display that you had Malit deliver. On their faces you can see excitement and apprehension, curiosity and dread. Lost, have you procured a DVD reader? I have. It's right here. Good. This should only take me a moment. Amzel disappears behind the ancient display. After a few minutes of fiddling with its battered inputs, he reappears, a satisfied look on his face. Everything appears to be functional. The disc should be ready to play. Well, don't keep us in suspense. Start the damn thing already. Lost went to the trouble of fetching everything. Let him do the honors. Amzel steps back, clearing a path for you to access the antique machine. Ah, here it is. Watch DVDs. Let's do this. Can't wait. What's on this thing? A soft whirring sound fills the air as the ancient DVD player spins the disc up to speed. The scratched LCD display comes to life, and a menu fills the screen. Play track 1. The screen goes black, and a cheerful digital chiming sound spills out of the display's speakers. A crackle of static fills the air, coupled with a shrill electronic whine. After a few moments, the display goes live, and a disheveled-looking man appears on the screen. His eyes glitter with excitement. The timestamp on the screen is 2034-915. Adrian Volclair. Hermie, I think we've found her. After all this time, Fürschwing, I know that she wasn't dead. His speech is jittery. You can hear the urgency in his voice. She survived the Dragonfall, just as I've always said. I knew it, and I was right. The screen explodes into static, and the electronic whine in the background sharpens into a needle-like pulse of high-pitched sound. Somewhere in the background, Dante lets out a low whimper. The screen clears, and the excited face is closer to the screen than it was before. The words spill out of him in a breathless tide. Taking a team into the socks to retrieve her. The radiation be damned. We will take appropriate precautions, of course, but we must go. Hermie, I think that the body may be nearby as well. Somehow, she has survived for all of this time. The screen explodes into static again, then clears. The figure flickers across the screen. May not be back for some time. Look after Mom, okay? I worry about her. And Hermie, stay safe out there. I know that things are heating up in Berlin. And I know you. Student protests, civil uprising. You'll be in the middle of it. I'm sure. Just stay safe, all right? I'll do my best to do the same. I don't know what's going to happen when I step into the socks, But I do know one thing. If the Fire Wing is still a danger, I will put an end to her. Once and for all. The display goes black, and the background whine fades away. A moment later, you find yourself deposited back at the menu screen. Play track 2. The screen goes black for a moment, then a figure appears on the screen. Your late client, Green Winters. His elbow is planted on the table that he's seated at, and his chin rests on his palm. The other hand is wrapped around a bottle of cheap whiskey. The timestamp on the video reads 2053, 12:25. Found the message Adrian left me all those years ago. Got it cleaned up as best I could. Strange hearing his voice again. He pauses to take a long pull on the bottle. It's good to hear him, even if he did insist on calling me Hermie. Dr. Adrian Volclair, the hero of our people, the Dragon Slayer, my brother. He grimaces and rubs his eyes. Hard to believe it's been almost 20 years. All right, so I'm going to start recording these DVDs again. For me, for Adrian, for whoever might wind up watching them. Every time I do this, it winds up feeling like a waste of time. But I keep doing it anyway, on the off chance that I'll find something important. If I stumble into the clue that leads me to my brother, I know that I'm going to want it on film. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, after all. No sense in quitting now. Christ, 20 years, all this time, and still no leads, even with all of my contacts and my resources. He takes another long swallow of cheap liquor. Even with my legendary bullheadedness, I've made no progress at all. I haven't turned up a single goddamn thing. Want to hear something funny? The closest I've gotten to a clue was a rumor. Apparently, a team emerged from the Sox a while back. Nobody's clear on the date, but, and get this, he leans into the camera and gives a conspiratorial wink. Supposedly, they vanished without a trace. He upends the bottle, drains it, slams it back down to the table. His eyes are rimmed with red. Not much of a rumor, considering. I already know that you're going, or gone, big brother. I live with that every day. Abruptly, Winters leans forward and reaches for something off screen. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. There's a grinding sound from the DVD tray, and Green Winter's image appears on the screen. There's an eager look on his face. The timestamp on the video reads 2054, 10:12. Stumbled upon the archival footage of Verschwing's original attack, months before the Dragonfall. Easy to forget how devastating it was. Adrian saved a lot of people by bringing her down. I've got the footage all queued up to play. Starting it now. Additional comments to follow. The slow whir of the DVD player shifts to a high-pitched whine. A distorted, wavering image blooms into being on the screen. A timestamp in the upper right corner of the screen marks the date, July 6, 2012. It's difficult to make out what you're seeing at first. The scene is dark and smoky, and the telltale flashes of emergency vehicle lights flicker on the periphery of the screen. The camera pushes in, and you can make out two figures standing in a ruined landscape. All at once, the sound cuts in. A reporter. Again, for those of you just joining us, we are coming to you live from Stolberg. A few hours ago, the Dragon Verschwing launched an unprovoked attack on this sleepy Harz Mountain town. And you can see the results behind me. Fire, ashes, and blood. We are joined tonight by a survivor of this latest and most horrifying attack. The reporter turns to face a pale man standing behind him. Sir, I understand that you've been through a terrible ordeal. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us tonight. The camera switches focus to a middle-aged man with a haunted look in his eyes. He stammers out a reply. Yes, of course. If you could, sir, could you please tell the people at home about your experience of the attack? It was horrible. Just pure chaos. So many people are dead. People I knew. Roasted alive or trampled to death trying to escape. My own house was burned to the ground during the attack. My family. We have nothing now. You all made it through the attack. Oh, your wife, your kids? Yeah, we all made it, thank God. We rode out the attack in a small shelter. Me, my wife, and our 2 daughters. The shelter, it protected us, but the heat was just unbearable. We couldn't have stayed in there much longer than we did. How long were you holed up in there? 3, maybe 4 hours? I don't know. We just stayed inside until the heat died down and the screaming stopped. And what happened after that? When it was over, you know, when the air cooled down, the reporter nods, and the man continues. We stepped outside. There was nothing left, just smoldering wreckage, and this dense cloud of black, oily smoke. And the stench in the air. God, that smell. It smelled like roasting meat. There's a long pause. From the tortured look on his face, you can tell that the man is struggling to decide whether or not to continue speaking. Eventually, he does. My girls, they found what was left of their nanny outside. Her body was left of it, was slumped against the shelter door. I keep telling myself that I couldn't hear her pounding to get in. But that isn't true. I could. I just couldn't bring myself to open that door. I couldn't risk my family like that. Not for her. Not for anyone. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to speak with us. Yeah. You heard it here. An absolutely chilling account of tonight's attack. Again, the town of Stolberg has been reduced to ash. Another victim of the Fire Wing. Stay with us, more up-to-date reporting on Feuerschwing's reign of terror. Green Winter's face reappears on the screen. Okay, it's time for a new approach. Adrian's a complete dead end. That much is pretty much clear by now. So I'm going to do some digging on Feuerschwing instead. Let's see where this goes. The screen abruptly goes black as the video cuts off. A few moments later, you find yourself returned to the menu screen. Play track 4. The DVD player ramps up to speed, filling the air with a shrill whining sound. Green Winter's image appears on the screen. The timestamp on the video reads 2054, 1031. Well, that was a bust. Little progress on Feuerschwing either. He shakes his head. I don't know. It's weird. The information is there. It's just wrong, somehow. It's too well laid out, too simple. Real life is messy, and this feels just a little too neat. That's not the only thing that's nagging at me. I'm getting that tingly feeling all up and down the back of my neck again. Feels like I'm being tracked. I'm no Matrix hotshot like Clockwork or Schaffer, but I'm good enough to know when someone's on my scent. Gotta install some new security measures. Can't be too careful. Winter's image disappears, the display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. The display goes blank for a moment. The face of a Green Winters winks onto the screen, and he's seated at the computer off to his left. An enormous monitor fills the screen. His voice carries an edge of panic. The timestamp on the video reads 2054, 1109. Christ, I'm getting too close to something. There's a trail of bodies, and there have been disappearances. Gearbox, Marcian, Peregrine, they've all disappeared within the past few years. Gearbox just went AWOL yesterday, and they were all making the same sorts of inquiries about the Fire Wing that I've been. There are ghost stories spreading around the Decker community, stories about Deckers disappearing and then showing up again later, but wrong somehow. Scary stuff, and I'm starting to think that it's true. Blitz leans in to whisper to you. I know the stories he's talking about, Chief. Never really put much stock in them. Not until now. Could these rumors be related to what's happening here? Am I being paranoid? He pauses for a moment, as if seriously considering the question. Then he shakes his head and slams his fist on the table. No, I don't think so. Something big is happening here, and I'm right in the middle of it. Iger cuts in. That's a bit of a leap. One other thing. Tolstoy told me a story about a kill team that might be related to all of this. Apparently, a decker named Helibor posted a theory about Führerschwing to the Shadowland BBS about 5 years ago. About an hour later, a mil-spec team showed up in meat space and cooked her entire apartment, with her in it. If what Tolstoy told me was true, Helibor live posted the event. She described her killer, this great big orc with skin grafts. Then the whole thread disappeared, gone without a trace. Leap, Iger Live. Sounds like he's on the right track to me. Iger holds her silence, but concedes the point with a small nod. On the screen, Winter pauses. He looks like he's working up to something. Finally, he speaks. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This has got to be Führerschwing. All of it. Adrian was right about her. She's still alive, and she's out of the socks. She's covering her tracks, working the shadows, preparing to rise again. And that means that I have to find you, Adrian, for everyone's sake. Thankfully, I've got a lead. For the first time in 2 decades, I've got a solid goddamn lead. I've backtracked all of the Matrix nodes that Helibor was looking into, back before she got cooked. Whoever's been purging the Matrix didn't think about that, and I found that she'd turned up. Winter stabs a few keys on his keyboard, and an image expands to fill the screen of his monitor. A satellite photo of a rural landscape, annotated with GPS data. A set of map coordinates. So now, I've got a target, a place to start digging. The Harfeld Manor, conveniently located on an isolated stretch of countryside, miles away from prying eyes. Matrix records indicate that some sort of data vault exists beneath the estate, so that's what I need to get into. And this is where we came in? As if on cue, a familiar image winks onto the monitor to Winter's left. Monica. I think I'm going to tap Schaffer for this job. She's got the skills to bypass whatever security they're running out there. And she's gullible enough to take the job in the first place. I'll feed her some line about flux state security, and she'll eat it up with a spoon. I warned her. Amzel's voice is choked with rage. I warned her. On the display, Winter's mouth parts into a broad grin. Time to put plans into motion. By this time tomorrow night, I should have the information that I need. And on the off chance that Schaffer gets taken out, well, that'll tell me something too. Can't make an omelet and all that. Until then. And then Winter's image disappears. When you play the 6th track, a small video window appears. You recognize the scene in the window. You are looking at the tattered drapes and nicotine-stained wallpaper of Winter's hotel room at Das Kasselhaus. The timestamp on the video reads 2054, 11:10. There's a blur of motion, and the haggard form of Green Winters lumbers into frame. Suspicions confirmed. Schaffer dead. Christ. Winter reaches a shaking hand off camera. A moment later, it returns, clutching a cheap plastic drinking glass. He gulps something down, wipes his mouth with the back of his hand, and takes a deep breath. Okay. Back up. Slow down. Start from the beginning. Winters closes his eyes and makes a visible effort to calm himself. When he speaks again, his voice is steady. Got the call from my contact in the Cruise Bazaar. Schaffer killed on the estate run. Matrix security at the estate cooked her brain. Considering Schaffer's skill and experience, on-site IC must have been extreme, even by Berlin standards. Security of that kind costs money, real money. Given the evidence uncovered so far, corporate involvement unlikely. The connection to the fire wing is too strong. So, let's come right out and say it. The dragon is what we're dealing with here, and the smart money says that she's coming for me next. Well, I won't go down without a fight. I've still got my contacts, still got my connections, and the flux state can be a hell of a weapon for the man who knows how to manipulate it. Winters takes another long pull from his glass, grimaces, and swallows. Time for me to make my play. Ghost stories or no, missing deckers or no, I've got to jack into the Matrix and start pulling strings. The countermeasures that I installed earlier should be more than enough to keep me safe for the 20 minutes I'll be in there. Winters drains the rest of the glass, then tosses it back over his shoulder. A moment later, you hear the dull, clattering sound of hard plastic on linoleum. Schaffer's death was tragic. She was a staunch supporter of the F-state, but still, all things considered. Winters fishes for something off screen. A moment later, his hand reappears, clutching a data jack cable. Better her than me. He plugs the cable into his head, and the screen cuts to static. Eject the DVD. As your finger nears the eject button, a black screen cuts in over the static. A moment later, Green Winter's haggard face appears. If you're watching this, then I guess that they caught up to me. They will be after you too now. Blitz whispers into your ear again, more harshly this time. What the hell is this? Why didn't you warn me about this before I came here? Not now, Blitz. Whoever you are, whatever you think you're after, you need to find Dr. Adrian Vauclair. Not because he's my brother, because if Führerschwing is rising again, he's the only one who can stop her. You've seen what happens to people who get too close to this. I'm dead, and dozens of others have died. You'll be next, unless you can find Adrian. The screen cuts back to static. The message is over. The DVD tray slides out of the reader. Wow. Wow. So we now know what happened. We know the entire story. So Green Winters did set us up. He totally set up Monica. He took advantage of Monica. That, you know what. Okay, well, he's gone. He's dead. Now we're going to have this Führerschwing, Firewing dragon coming after us. So we've got to act, and we've got to act fast. But we'll be acting in the next adventure because we are at that time to end this one. Oh, I hope you're enjoying this. What a blast this Shadowrun Dragonfall Director's Cut is. I hope you're enjoying it, and if you are, please hit that like button. If you're not subscribing, please do so, as it helps our channel, and it's just a lot more fun to have you along with us. Thanks again for watching, and we will be back soon.